And welcome everyone again to another episode of Movie Battleground. We are having a special episode for you tonight, a Wizarding World exhibition for you. Yes, sirree. So tonight we have two gentlemen that will be taking on each other. We were supposed to have three. Unfortunately, Sir David Garcia had to step away for health concerns. So we wish him the best and hope he gets well soon. But without further ado, we're going to go ahead and bring in our competitors that we do have for tonight's matchup. We have, he is coming off of most recently, he lost a match to Caleb Hansen, mashed potatoes. Everybody knows him around here. But he is Malcolm, the crazy Kiwi Lay. What's up, man?
I'm pretty good. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not that prepared for this, but then again, I've seen these movies many times. So I don't. It's one of those ones like I remember a lot about them, so I don't need to prepare as hard as I would for a regular match.
For sure, for sure. So yeah, I mean, you're saying you're not preparing as hard. Have you watched any of your opponent's matches, of any of Noah's matches, to get prepared for this?
I honestly haven't. I'm really bad when it comes to actually watching the matches. Like I'll catch them every now and then, but without having so much time in a day, like I don't always have time to aside to watch like a 1.5 hour battle debate match. So I know
Absolutely.
I know it sounds bad, but
Hey, everybody knows that you have a lot going on in the fan league, so nobody can blame you. All right, so we'll drop you to the back, Malcolm, and we'll bring in your opponent. He is currently sitting at 2-2 competitively, and he just got his first knockout against somebody we won't bring up. He is Noah McCausland. What's up?
Why are we going to bring that up, Kevin?
I just don't want to. I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, whoever that said person might be.
Fair enough. That's fair.
Yeah.
But I'm ready for this match. You're well aware that I'm quite a fan of Harry Potter.
Yeah.
And like Malcolm, I've seen the movie so many times I didn't really prepare for it, so I pretty much call it all up here. I remember the movies quite well, so it's definitely going to be an interesting match between two people who I'm assuming he loves Harry Potter as well, since he has the poster. Or I've seen the poster. So that's two people who seem to love Harry Potter. So
yeah, absolutely. So I'll ask you the same question. Have you watched any of Malcolm's debates to kind of prepare for this one? This being an exhibition, I know as far as the questions, I know you're prepared, but are you prepared for the players?
Well, I've not in preparation for this match, but I've seen him play before. I can't remember who the most recent person he faced that I saw. It wasn't Caleb Hansen, but I've seen his matches before, and I know that he brings some good points. So I'll have to be ready for that. So
definitely, for sure. All right, well, let's bring Malcolm back in. We do have three judges in the back, three excellent judges that are prepared to take on these Wizarding World questions. They are Chadwick Webb, Jake Tato, and Austin Pez Howell. And so we'll bring them up whenever needed. I'm going to drop myself to the back as we go ahead and introduce the first question. Posed is, what is the worst performance by an actor in the Wizarding World franchise? Noah has the best record of the players at hand, so he chose to go first on question 1. Malcolm will go first on question 3, and I will flip a coin to determine who goes first on question 2. So let's see, Noah, if you would like to go ahead and go. I have there we go. Your timer is up, and when you start speaking, your 60-second opening will begin.
There are many great actors in the Harry Potter franchise, either ones who have had a name for themselves for previous works or come into the franchise, this being their, especially Sorcerer's Stone being their first movie, or one of the Harry Potter movies being their first movie. Um, there's one actress in that case who has failed to do anything noteworthy afterwards, or even had much of a career afterwards, and that's going to be Bonnie Wright. She does not represent the character well from the books, except for maybe her looks. Other than that, she has hardly the spunk and the wit that the character in the books does. I know this is just based on the movies, but she has hardly any charisma or any gravitas that she brings to the screen. And because of that, you really don't see her in any other works, and she has hardly a career besides the Harry Potter franchise. And that's my time.
And that is your time indeed. All right, great first answer there, as Noah goes with Bonnie Wright as Ginny Weasley in Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. All right, so we'll move to Malcolm as he will pitch his answer for question number 1, and your time will start when you begin speaking,
Malcolm. Yeah, for me, I picked Eddie Redmayne specifically from Crimes of Grindelwald. Eddie was likable as Newt in the first one. In Crimes of Grindelwald, it just felt like he was sleepwalking through his worlds, like as if he just didn't really want to be there, and it just felt like he was really he just didn't really do anything great in that one. And it just felt like his connections with all the characters was off. Even the ones he had great connections with in the first one, it just felt like the connections just weren't there either. But yeah, I yield the rest of my time.
All right, Malcolm's going to yield the rest of his time. We'll let this roll. And as that ends, we have Ginny Weasley. Bonnie Wright as Ginny Weasley in Half-Blood Prince versus Eddie Redmayne as Newt Scamander in Crimes of Grindelwald. Worst performance by an actor in the Wizarding World franchise. All right, 2-minute argument start going by Noah is up when you begin speaking, sir.
In Half-Blood Prince, Ginny Weasley and Harry are supposed to start their romantic relationship. They're supposed to have that attraction towards one another. And it really feels forced in this movie, and not only because of the writing in this film, but also because of Bonnie Wright's portrayal of Ginny. Like, she just doesn't have that attraction to Harry, and you can feel it. Their kiss in the room of requirement feels absolutely forced and feels absolutely not real, and that he should definitely be with someone else. I feel like it's all because of her, and that can be shown because she doesn't really have any works besides maybe 2 other movies I haven't even seen or heard of besides the Harry Potter world. Kevin, you're going to fact check me on that, I know. But she doesn't really have anything else to show what she's done, and that could be a personal choice, but also I believe it's due to her acting ability. Yeah, maybe Crimes of Grindelwald isn't the best movie, but that is hardly to do with Eddie Redmayne's fault. That's more of the writing's fault, and if anything. Eddie Redmayne's character, he just portrays Newt Scamander so well. He's always like kind of off kilter and awkward, and he portrays that well. On top of that, sorry, my camera's going to go dark in a minute. Eddie Redmayne has multiple awards. He has the Academy Award for Best Actor in the Leading Role for Theory of Everything. He has a Tony Award. He's multiple BAFTAs and Golden Globe Awards. Bonnie Wright doesn't really have much. She doesn't really have much of a career either. She just does absolutely nothing in Half-Blood Prince. You see her maybe kissing someone a couple times, and you see her kiss Harry a couple times. But after that, she has no connection with Harry and absolutely nothing. Yeah, her character is written atrociously, but she has nothing to help the fact. Like, characters have been written atrociously before, but yet their actors have been able to pull them out of the darkness, and she does not do that.
All right. And 2 minutes for Malcolm, starting when you begin speaking, sir.
Um, yeah, I mean, with this question, it doesn't matter what the actors and actresses did outside of the Disney World. That's not going to impact their performance here. And with Bonnie Wright, I actually like her as Ginny Weasley. I think she's great at playing it. I've the issue with Ginny because I do agree with you that like in Half Blood Prince, her kiss is forced. Like they didn't build up that Ginny is still in love with Harry over the other movies because in the books it is built up like Harry's had like Ginny's had this crush on Harry since Chamber of Secrets, and it just wasn't that clearly built up in the movies. To the point in which it just felt forced. But that's really not the actress's fault because it's that I'll put that on the writing just because they didn't focus on building that up in the movies. With Eddie Redmayne, like I mean, he was charming in the first movie. It's Climactic just felt like he either didn't really want to be there anymore. It just felt or that, but because like him and Jacob normally had this really great connection in the first movie. But in Quam's Grindelwald, it didn't help that Jacob didn't have much of presence in that movie anyway. But it just felt like the connection with them was strained and and he was trying to figure out how to make that connection again. But yeah, um, you will do some more time, which is only 2 seconds.
All right. That wraps up the 2 minute round. We will move into our 4 minute debate round, open debate round. Let you guys have open debate. Try not to talk over each other too much. I don't think you will. But here we go. Whenever somebody starts speaking.
I agree with you that the writing does not help her case, and that it's supposed to build up through the movies, and the movies don't do that as much. But she has plenty to do with it, and plenty to do with it is it's her fault, and that she doesn't show enough charisma and gravitas on the screen. She doesn't have that connection with Harry that you're supposed to have with someone, and it's partly to do with her fault. Whether with like Eddie Redmayne in Crimes of Grindelwald, the whole movie is kind of about the strained relationships. There's a strained relationship between him and Tina. She thinks that he's with someone else, and he portrays that perfectly. The awkwardness of like, hey, I'm not. I like you, like I want to be with you, but he also like doesn't have that strained relationship with Fogler's name. I can't remember his name now. Jacob Kowalski doesn't have that strained relationship with him. I just feel like that relationship with him and Tina is reflected onto Jacob.
Yeah, but I mean, the thing is, like with Bonnie, it's just one of those ones because, as I said, I thought she was great as Ginny, because I think it's just because I mean, for most of those child actors, like Harry Potter was the first role and that they did, and while she had a small part to play in Philosopher's Stone and Chamber, I don't remember if she made. She had probably would have only made a brief appearance in Prisoners and Goblet as it was. I don't think she had a major role, but I think when her character started sort of needing to be there a lot, which is Order of the Phoenix, Half-Blood Prince onwards, I think they still didn't really give her a lot to do in those movies. And I think had they given her built it up a little bit better, I really think that she could have portrayed that. Like, really, it's one of those ones like with actors, they can only work with what they're given, and if you're not given much, you're not. It's go to reflect on your acting a lot. Eddie Redmayne, I think, is one of those ones that I think has a lot of potential, had a lot of potential to, because he was really likable in in the first movie, but then it just felt like somewhere along the line his character changed. And while yes, I know part of the plot of Climactic and Duel was these strained relationships, I think even the strainedness of him and Tina and all that, I think that didn't come out across as very strained as it would normally be. But
I'm lagging a bit, so I'm hoping you're done speaking by now. But pretty much everyone, including the child actors, grew on to have a successful career. Matthew Lewis grew on to be in other movies. Harry Melling has been in multiple things, including The Queen's Gambit, and he was spectacular in that. But Bonnie Wright really hasn't been in much, and I think it's because of her performances in the movies. Yeah, she doesn't have much to do, and the writing doesn't do well, but she's supposed to be this spunky, witty character, and when she's giving those lines, she doesn't make much use of them. She doesn't give the sass that comes with the character. I think it's really all because of her fault, and New is a great character.
And time. All right. So, Noah, since you started us off, you're going to start us off here with your 60-second closing when you begin speaking.
I'm going to contradict myself in this final statement, but it's going to make sense. The writing isn't well done in Crimes of Grindelwald, but the performance that he gives, that Eddie Raymond gives, is a good job, regardless of the writing that was done. However, Bonnie Wright is given not much to do in Half-Blood Prince and really in all the other movies. But when she's given the opportunity to do something more, she doesn't take a hold of it and she doesn't expound upon it. And that's really because of her fault. As much as I have nothing against her, I have nothing to blame her for, she just really doesn't do much for the writing. But when the writing does give her something to do, she doesn't do anything with it. The kiss between her and Harry feels forced. The relationship between her and Harry feels forced just because the books went that way. And Eddie Redmayne still portrays the awkward Newt Scamander very well in his attachment towards creatures. And that's my statement.
All right. And the time is up. All right. So, Malcolm, your 60-second closing argument begins when you begin speaking.
Yeah. Look, Noah has brought up a few times. I'm just going to nail it down again. The fact that Bonnie Wright hasn't had a lot of major stuff outside of the Wizarding World is not because of her acting in Half-Blood Prince. It could just be personal choice, or she wanted to go into directing. Because, but that being said, look, the issue of Bonnie Wright is that she wasn't built up in the movies that she needed to be, so she can only work with what she's given. And I think with what she was given, I think she was great in the role. I think Eddie Redmayne had a lot of opportunity to take the bad writing from Cons of Grindelwald and turn that into something. I don't think he turned that writing into something good in the movie.
All right. As Malcolm wraps this up, that finishes round number 1. We are going to take Malcolm and Noah out. Let me drop this timer and drop our players. And I'll bring in Chad, Jake Tato, and Austin Tez Howell. There are 3 judges, and we'll go in order. Guys, what do you think about what these 2 players just had to say about the worst performance by an actor in the Wizarding World franchise? Let's start with Chad.
Yeah, this was a tough one. They both did a pretty great job, I thought. They picked, decent to bad performances there. I ultimately went Noah here. The reason I did was because he kind of, I feel like, more so went into the actual like portrayals of the characters and how like Eddie Redmayne played his character like kind of awkward and stuff like that. So he was actually doing a good job. Whereas Bonnie Wright, even though she wasn't given much to work with, still was kind of like flat and not doing much that whole. And he even talked about like what she was supposed to have done because of like the books and what the kind of character she should have been. And so I feel like I just went Noah.
All right, so one pick for Noah. Let's go towards Jake Tato. See what he has to say.
Noah got the check from me as well. Malcolm did great at taking away the post career because that doesn't really have anything to do with the question at hand. But what Noah said about the lack of charisma and how it's not really Ginny and the forced romance is really what got it for me.
All right, great job by our judges. We'll hear from Austin next time. Thank you guys, and we'll see you in just a moment. Let's bring back our players. Noah gets the point there, but we go into what is our speed round. The speed round is question number 2. And in our speed round, the players will get a 1-minute opening, a 90-second rebuttal, and a 45-second closing, in which they will give you, they will answer this question, in which I will pitch to you right here. The question is, which Wizarding World film is the most underrated? All right, so I said I was going to flip a coin on this one, so you'll just have to trust me because I'm not coming on screen and doing all that. So Malcolm, heads or tails?
Heads.
And I have heads. So you can pick to go first on this one or second on this one.
I'll let Noah go first on this one.
All right, Malcolm wants to let Noah go first on this one, and then Malcolm will go first on the last one. All right, fair enough. So the question at hand, which Wizarding World film is the most underrated? Noah's going to go first. And so I have a new timer pulled up here for you. So you get a 60-second opening. So Noah, your 60-second opening begins when you begin speaking.
When it comes to the best Wizarding World film, obviously you're going to get talks of Azkaban or either the Deathly Hallows or maybe even Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. However, one film that is not really in that conversation a lot is Half-Blood Prince, and I feel like it needs to be, and I feel like it's definitely underrated. It's definitely one of the top Wizarding World films because of the acting, the seriousness that is juxtaposed with the kind of hilarities of teenage hijinks and relationships and all that kind of stuff. It has a very dark tone to it, but it doesn't stick to that the whole way through. It has a very interesting plot, and it brings Draco Malfoy, it brings Tom Felton into the fold when it comes to some of the more heavy actors. He has a great performance in this film, and the ending scenes of this film are just so captivating and entrancing.
All right, time. Right on the money there. And we'll go to Malcolm. Your 1-minute opening when you begin talking.
Yeah. So for me, I picked Order of the Phoenix because once again, I've always see Prison of Azkaban at the top of just be everyone's list. For me, I think Order of the Phoenix is the one that's most underrated. Because it has a 77% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is lower than Half-Blood Prince. And it's one that a lot of the criticisms people have with this movie is that the stuff that they didn't put in the movie. And well, I when it comes to fan base, I get it. I get you being upset that they didn't put a certain scene in the movie, but you shouldn't judge the movie based on what they didn't put in. And I think that's a lot of the things that Order of the Phoenix gets judged on overall, because overall the plot itself is really good, and I'll get into that. Next.
All right. So Malcolm will get into that in just a moment. So we have a 90-second expansion here. So here we go with Noah. When you begin speaking, sir.
Order of the Phoenix has some of the worst editing in the Wizarding World community. Not community, but the series. You get that really weird Dumbledore like hiss when he's fighting with Harry internally. You get that really weird with it's just generic clouds background, and then Voldemort right there going. It's the stupidest decision ever. It makes for it's really funny while watching it, but it's the stupidest thing ever. The only good thing that you get out of that film is the fight between Voldemort and Dumbledore at the end of the film, and that doesn't save it from the rest of the film. You get the when Sirius dies, it's not as emotional as it should be, because you don't have that as much time with that character in this fifth one, and the development between Harry and Sirius isn't that great. But you get that extremely harrowing and emotional death in Half-Blood Prince with Dumbledore, and you get that great scene where all the students and all the staff are just in that courtyard next to his body, holding up their wands, lighting the tips of their wands, making the dark mark go away. It's really emotional. The score swells in it. You have great coloring between the whole film that presents light moments and comedy, like with Harry and Lavender, juxtaposed with the seriousness of what Draco's doing. And I'm not even talking about what Tom Felton's done. Tom Felton is amazing in this film. He portrays guilt and sadness and regret through this whole movie perfectly.
All right, time. And we will go to Malcolm for your 1 minute 30-second expansion.
But yeah, I mean, Order of the Phoenix. I felt more emotion from Sirius's death than I did from Dumbledore's death in Half-Blood Prince. To me, the Sirius's death impacted me a lot more. And like this is one of those ones, like all the acting in Order of the Phoenix, I think is definitely a lot better than in Half-Blood Prince, because as you said, like Half-Blood Prince, as you said earlier, like Half-Blood Prince does have the terrible kiss scene between Ginny and Harry. So you've got that. Half-Blood Prince is 84% on Rotten Tomatoes. Well, I know it's not the be-all, end-all, but it is definitely when it comes to Rotten Tomatoes, it's definitely the higher regarded movie. And I think Order of the Phoenix should be at least in the 80s as well, because I think it is a really good movie, and I think it's one that not a lot of people really do talk about it much, because I think it's one of those ones. But yeah, like Half-Blood Prince, I think some of the decisions that they made just is really baffling half the time. And yeah.
All right, time. And we'll move on to our final closing arguments, 45 seconds. Noah, when you begin speaking.
Sirius's death is emotionally undercut by immediate action afterwards, with Harry chasing after Bellatrix. And I know it continues a little bit with her screaming, "I killed Sirius Black, I killed Sirius Black," and him being rageful. But that just leads into the huge battle between Dumbledore and Voldemort, and that completely overshadows the death that Sirius had. So that death isn't as emotional, but you get that extremely emotional scene with Dumbledore dying at the end, and you get that emotional scene with Snape. You can see it in his face. You can see Alan Rickman not wanting to do it and having to do it. Not only that, but you get hilarious moments in here between Ravender and Lon, and I cannot even start to explain some of the other ones.
All right, time. as we move to Malcolm for the final 45 seconds of this round. When you begin speaking, sir.
But that's the thing. In the books, Sirius's death wasn't at the very end. You still had it, the battle afterwards as well. While it may not have happened exactly the way it happened in the movie, it's you still had action follow up on that. In Half-Blood Prince, well, I just Dumbledore's death was just really quick, and it just wasn't enough to. And they had to make it slow motion just to try and build this suspensefulness. I don't know what I was looking for there, but yeah.
All right, time. And that ends the speed round. All right, we're going to take Noah and Malcolm out and bring our judges in. And let's see what they have to say. This time we're going to start with Tato. What say you, sir?
Malcolm gets the point on this one. He talked more about why it's underrated as opposed to just why it's good.
Okay. And we'll move to Austin.
I thought they both were pretty close, but I think Noah, for me, had more consistent points and trains of thought and more points, counterpoints to the other one, and just had a stronger case for me. So Noah.
Okay. So it's 1 point each. Chad will be the tiebreaker. What say you?
Yeah, I had to go with Noah as well in this one. The reasoning being is just, he said a lot. I mean, the questions being accepted kind of like makes it like, oh, they're both underrated, I guess. I think Noah definitely like said that his was underrated at least. But yeah, like he was talking about so much about like everything about how his movie was just great. He talked about like the lighting, the technical stuff. And then he even talked about like, the contrast, the performances. I just wish I heard like more about Malcolm's movie from him. So I went with Noah.
All right. So Noah gets the point, and we will drop the judges to the back. Thank you, guys. And we'll bring our competitors back out. At this point, Noah has
Dragon Balls. That's all I got to say. Dragon Balls.
Noah has officially won the match by KO. But as we stated before the match, we will continue on and do the third question because this is an exhibition, and we want everybody to have a good time. So yeah, congratulations to Noah there, but you still do have to participate in this one. All right. So here we go. Everybody, one's at the ready. And your third question, guys. This one will be a standard timer. If I can get my timer up. My actual timer. Yeah, there it is. Okay. Sweet. All right. So your next question and your final question of the match will be, what is the best climactic action sequence is in the Wizarding World films? So what is the best climactic action sequence in the Wizarding World films? And so we will, Malcolm, you will be the first to answer on this one. Let me bring up the timer here. And the timer will start 60 seconds to begin when you begin speaking.
So for me, the best climactic scene in either Wizarding World films is the Malfoy's Manor scene in Deathly Hallows Part 1. Because this is just one of those ones that was really well done. It was really so like the book, and just seeing the big fight, and then spoiler alert, Dobby being murdered by Bellatrix, and just leading into the emotion of adding to the emotional impact of this scene. I just thought the fight scenes are great in this, and it just kept you interested in this in it all the way through.
All right. A few seconds left there. We'll let those tick off. And so we'll move to Noah, your 60-second opening argument when you start speaking.
Spoiler alert, I'm kind of on a Half-Blood Prince tirade today. I really think it's underrated. But on top of that, that cave scene is one of the most climactic scenes in the movie. It's absolutely incredible. You get that silence with the almost gray and white tone in the beginning when they're in the cave. You get that great emotional swelling, the score swelling in beforehand when they're looking over in the cave, like between the water and everything. You get that really kind of horror aspect of it when it's completely silent and all of a sudden Harry gets grabbed and he gets taken under the water and everything, all that happens. It's an incredible experience, and the only thing I would pick over this is the fight between Dumbledore and Voldemort at the end of the 5th movie. I'll yield my time.
All right, Noah's going to yield the rest of that time. I'll let it tick off. And so your 2-minute argument, Malcolm, when you begin speaking.
So the cave sequence in Half-Blood Prince, is one of those ones that I feel is most of the time not that interesting. I mean, while I get it, trying to make it from the book is not going to be easy. But it's just one that when you put it on film, it just seems boring. Like it's one that it's one of those ones that I think just for for the end of the movie moment, I think it just needed something more to make it more interesting, and it just felt like a really slow version of a zombie movie with wands. But as for Malcolm's Manor, it's one of those ones that is a very high-paced sequence. You get a lot of action. You get stuff that's going to keep you invested in the scene and keep your eyes on the screen. I yield the rest of my time.
All right, Malcolm's going to yield the rest of his time. Let's see. I can bump it up just a little. It's probably better to not mess with it. I'll kind of vamp for just a second. So Noah will take over as soon as this counts down, and do his 2-minute solo pitch in 5 seconds. All right, here we go. On the ready, Noah.
Just because your movie most of the time is spent wandering around the woods trying to find people and trying to find Horcruxes doesn't make this last end sequence in Malfoy Manor interesting. Yeah, there's a little bit of action. Yeah, there's a little bit of spell casting and wand waving, but it doesn't really make anything interesting. The best part of that sequence is Dobby being funny. While in my sequence, you get the emotion, not the emotion weight, but you get cinematic weight. It's like this is a very important task. Like this is the first we're hearing and the first we're seeing about a Horcrux, and we're trying to figure out what it is. You get that really emotional scene with Dumbledore begging Harry not to like force this down his mouth, and you feel bad for Harry. Like I really don't want him to do this either, but he has to. He has to go through this. You get that kind of horror scene when he's first grabbed. Before that, there's completely no sound at all. There's sound, but there's no score. It's very quiet, and he gets grabbed, so it amps up the scene, and the music starts going after that. And then you get that amazing scene with Dumbledore finally getting his wand, finally getting the fire around it, and saving Harry. And you get that great scene with the fire spreading around the lake. And before that, it's just this suspense stacked on top of each other until you get to that final scene. And not to mention, that then goes to Dumbledore dying and the standoff between Malfoy, Snape, and them. But this scene is just absolutely amazing. From the first shot we get of the cave, of the music swelling and the ocean all around them, to Dumbledore almost dying and begging for his life. But in Malfoy Manor, the action between them is not that interesting. Like, it's just spells being cast back and forth, and you don't really feel any weight. You don't feel like worried for any of the characters in that scene.
And time. All right, nice job, guys, with your pitches. And we're going to go to the 4-minute back and forth debate. So, like I said before, in the first one, do not talk over each other, or try not to. Try to share your time. And when the first person starts speaking, I'll start the clock.
Go ahead, Malcolm.
Yeah. So here's the reason I think the Malfoy's Manor scene works a lot as a really good closing for that is the fact that a lot of the rest of the movie was them going through the fire because it's one of those ones that you don't expect. And well, yeah, but yeah, with the cave scene, I get it. There's definitely some parts that definitely work. It's just one of those ones because a lot of the, once again, with Half-Blood Prince, a lot of the movie and a lot of the important moments are really there's just you do get a lot of action. It just throughout the movie, it just
Well, this is one of the most important scenes of the movie because you're starting to figure out why, or like what is this thing that's keeping Voldemort alive? Like, what is the source of his power? And you're if this is what it takes to get one of them, what is it going to take to get the rest of them? And I feel like the weight of this scene portrays that perfectly. The Inferni, I believe, or Inferni, that are guarding the Horcrux or the fake Horcrux that we know of. Spoilers alert. They're kind of terrifying. They're humanoid figures, but they're dark creatures, and they're just terrifying to watch. And you feel that horror when like Harry gets dragged under the water by it. And before that, you have some amazing lighting when he's casting Lumos right over the Horcrux, and it gives the whole scene this really ominous vibe. And without having any score, that silence just expounds the suspense of the scene.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's one of those ones. If the question was more suspenseful, ending scene, then yeah, I would give it to you for Half-Blood Prince. But it's about like action scene, and I think that my scene from Deathly Hallows definitely shows off the action part of it a lot better than Half-Blood Prince. Like Half-Blood Prince, a lot of the action is fighting the inferiors, but other than that, it's just really more suspenseful than showing off.
The question was about it, like which one's more climactic, and being from cinema, that having that suspense works as being climactic as it reaches that top of that climax, and then is popped by when the Inferni come out and when Dumbledore starts casting magic. That's what makes it climactic. That's what brings it to a point, and from there it's a sweet point. There's nothing really climactic about your scene. There's nothing really like, oh, I know this is the end of the movie for your movie. It's pretty much like, oh, this is the halfway point in the other movie. I mean, yeah, you have some fighting and you have some action between the Malfoys and Bellatrix and the crew, but there's nothing really elevating that scene to a climactic moment.
But yeah, I mean that's the thing. Like you find it out about Horcruxes earlier, and it's also one of those ones like even though they didn't know it, we'd already seen sort of what it takes to get rid of a Horcrux just from the Chamber of Secrets.
And time. All right, great back and forth, you guys. As we go to the final 1 minute closing debate, we'll go to Malcolm to begin this final round, and we'll start as you begin speaking.
Yeah. So just to expand on what I closed off with, like earlier in Half-Blood Prince, you find out about the Horcruxes, and it was also then you also find out that the diary that Harry defeated in Chamber of Secrets was a Horcrux, and so so in a way you already knew sort of what it would take to get rid of it, and that it wasn't going to be easy. So and not to mention you saw that Dumbledore's arm was burnt from destroying the ring, so you knew that when it comes to actually getting a Horcrux, it may not be easy, or but I don't think it worked as a cinematic closing thing. I think they needed to throw in a bit of action at the end to make it better.
And time. All right, and we'll finish off this round and this Wizarding World exhibition with Noah's final closing argument. 60 seconds when you begin, Noah.
To make a scene climactic, it doesn't only need action, and action's not the only ingredient in that mix. It does help, I agree, but that's not the only thing. Yes, you found out earlier about Horcruxes earlier in the movie, but this is kind of the first time without knowledge that we're going into trying to retrieve one instead of one kind of landing in our laps. This brings in all of the elements. You have that great music swelling moment when they're outside the cave. I know I keep bringing it up, but it's just a different aspect than that suspense that I keep talking about. You got that action scene with Dumbledore at the end being very powerful and very magical. There's not much more greatness I can talk about this scene, and how much worse I can say that Malfoy Manor is. That scene is not climactic. It's just a stopping point until the second part of the movie, which has a real climactic moment. And yeah, that's my time.
That's the time. All right, that closes us out. Great job, guys. I'm going to put you to the back, and we'll bring the judges up one last time. Here comes Taylor. Here comes Chad. Here comes Austin. And we will go to them one last round to see what they have to say. Austin, we'll start with you, buddy.
An interesting argument back and forth. I'm going to go with the one who hit on the actual action portion of the question, and I really liked Malcolm's point about the other one being a zombie movie with wands and more suspense than action, so I will with Malcolm on this one.
Nice. All right, so we'll go to Chad, I believe, next. Chad.
Well, I mean, I hate to sound like a broken record. I did go with Noah again. The reason being, you can tell this dude wants to be a filmmaker the way he talks about one sequence, and like the music building and stuff like that. Talking about a climactic, talking about it's very important to the movie. And yeah, Malcolm, because this one was close. I don't want to act like it wasn't, because Malcolm really dug in with a lot of those points that Austin said. And I liked when he was like, this question's about action. But I feel like Noah defended that and a lot of everything else super well, just talking about how his is the most climactic. There was action, fighting the, the zombie creatures and stuff like that. So, I feel like Noah just did slightly better job. So I gave it to Noah.
All right. And so we have one apiece. So we'll go to the Tato for the tiebreaker. What say you, sir?
My vote on this one will go to Noah. The weight, like basically what Chad said, but yeah, Noah really hammered on the weight of the moment.
All right. And your winner, by way of knockout, Noah McLovin McCausland. All right, way to go, buddy. You know your stuff about the wizarding world. It is known. Congratulations. How you feeling?
I'm feeling all right. This definitely wasn't my best match. I absolutely did zero preparation and before this, except for maybe looking Eddie Redmayne's awards up, which I did maybe 5 minutes before the match started. Malcolm definitely had some really good points, and I thought he should have taken me down on some of them. But he was a very good competitor.
Nice. Well, Malcolm definitely put up a good fight there. Just to go ahead and put this out there, so you now have been put into an exhibition final, Wizarding World exhibition final that will take place in November against Jay Burns and a player TBD, player to be determined. So I don't know who that will be. So we'll see. I'm assuming that will come from a future exhibition match. So yeah, we'll see. But how do you feel about playing in another one of these Wizarding World matches that might be up against, at least Jay Burns and then maybe somebody else tough like that?
I'm definitely worried about Jay Burns. Like, he's known as being a tough competitor and like a talk over you kind of competitor. Love you, Jay. But when it comes to my love and passion for Harry Potter, I know he brings it too. But I feel like I might be able to get on his level with this one. Like, I might be able to par with him and throw some blows.
Yeah,
so
well,
it's definitely gonna be a fun match.
Yeah, it definitely would be. So congratulations. And so just for notes for you, Aaron wanted me to point out that you will be taking part in the Summer Invitational Tournament. Your first matchup will be potentially against Joe Farrelly. However, if Joe does still hold the movie Battleground title by then, he will be replaced by a player of his choosing. What are your thoughts on that upcoming matchup?
It terrifies me even more than Jay. I've seen Joe fight, and oh my God, does he know his shit? So I kind of want it to happen just so I can see how I would do against him, and just so I can like test my mettle. Even if I fail, which I'm very sure I will, I can just kind of see how well I would do. So,
you never know, man. You never know. I held my own against Joe a little bit, and then I got totally shellacked by you. So anything can happen in this world for sure. The movie Battleground world, I mean. So definitely keep your head up. Did a great job in this one. So I will let you go. I know you got to run. Congratulations, and we'll see you for sure in the Summer Invitational, and then we'll see you again for another Wizarding World one in November. Mischief match.
Appreciate it, Kevin.
See you, bro. All right, we'll drop Noah to the back, and I'm going to talk to the unfortunate second place finisher, Malcolm Lay. Just enough today, Malcolm, but you did get a few votes there, so that I know that is a positive to take with you, especially like we talked about, what was playing. So how are you walking away feeling from this one?
I mean, honestly, I'm relieved I didn't win because I don't want to face Jay.
That doesn't seem like much of a prize.
But that being said, look, Noah put up a good fight. Like as I said in the pre-match, like I came in here for minimum preparation as well, but it's one of the.
I didn't understand that.
I'm not talking to you, phone, so shut up. But that being said, like in some of them, I probably would have gone a different route, but especially for the underrated one, because my first choice was already taken by David, so I just had to scramble for the other one. I wasn't going to try and argue good things about Comms Gryndor, because even though I do like it,
Right.
people it can be easily attacked. So
I understand that.
yeah.
All right. Well, so you don't have a next match lined up at the moment. Are there any potential matches that interest you?
I'm just happy to play who's put in front of me, to be honest. Like I have fun with debate, but there's not really anyone that I'm really looking for. And yeah, I mean,
Sounds good. I know Aaron will probably be happy to hear that. Happy to know that he has somebody lined up that will take on anybody. So, all right. Good matchup, Malcolm, and we'll see you very soon. All right. And he is out. All right. So, just a couple of upcoming big matches here at Movie Battleground this Saturday, April the 16th. Two 1-0 rookies return to take on each other. Tune in then at 6 o'clock p.m. to EST, to see Alan Shepard take on Will Cohen. That will be it for today. Thank you for watching today's Wizarding World exhibition. I want to thank my three judges, Austin, Pez, Howell, Jake, Tato, and Chad Danger Webb. And I'm going to say Avada Kedavra and good night from Movie Battleground.